My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Hello and good evening or good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I'm here with Damien for a bit of ATP Weekly. How are you doing, Damien?
Good. Queens Halle used to be one of my favorite weeks on tour. It's not really anymore because I always travel during that week. But yeah, still quite a bit of enjoyment. Obviously, the big events before the grass. It's a shame we don't have a 1000, but well, it is what it is.
Are you someone that thinks we should have a grass 1000?
I think we could. I mean, I'm definitely not like in favor of extending the grass season to a crazy extent. You know, I understand the issues. I understand the maintenance of the courts obviously is rough. But yeah, just to have it like as a monthly tradition, I would like to see maybe one more big event. Yeah, just to not have this like pretty weird contrast that there's that one major tournament that nobody really has like experience for. Nobody has, nobody of the young players is really like ready for.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I didn't know you'd be on board with the grass 1000. But anyway, we'll start with. Actually, no, we'll start with a very nice story. Actually, I think with Bublik coming through to win his second title in Halle in 3 years. Beating Medvedev in the final. Damien, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean it's not really a singular event, obviously. 13-2 since he won the Turin Challenger, worth mentioning. Biggest clay court title of his career. What he did at Roland Garros as well. That was kind of special. I mean, with Bublik, it's kind of like with Kyrgios. People are always questioning, like, what if he played with full-on motivation all the time? Like, I'm not one of these who are just gonna sit down and tell you, oh no, he's gonna be winning slams, he's gonna be in the top 5 soon or something like that. But obviously, his peak level is just absurd. He's got a pretty nice skill set as well in terms of like messing up the opponents, which probably helps with that. Very interesting words as well that he said after one of the after the match today, that he was like considering to take a break after Wimbledon because nothing was working for him, obviously, and then now he's kind of just like back in a completely different mental state. So it's clear that his mentality is really like the main thing driving his career, either forwards or backwards, depending on the time. And the tennis, I mean, it's there, and especially on grass courts, especially when he's facing guys like, I don't know, Medvedev, and he can just drop shot them to death, sort of abuse that very defensive positioning. The serve is amazing. Yeah, it's really fun to watch when he's actually serious and when he's not just, throwing in all the underarm serves and playing with his handle just to kind of like show that he's not interested in this, that he's above this sort of. When he is serious about it, he's a super fun watch, and hopefully this will not be the end of the Bublik peak era.
No, I mean, it's kind of crazy because you linked to Kyrgios there, and I actually think it's so true that it's like these guys have such a high peak level, and when Bublik's playing at his best, he's such a. It's a bit ridiculous to watch because you think the level's going to drop at some point and it just doesn't, right? And yeah, it's a bit of a joke, and his game's just so suited to the grass. The big serve, the +1, the drop shots. It's like when he can spam drop shots like that against someone like Medvedev, as you were saying. Like Medvedev's obviously taking a ridiculous return position, and then getting drop shotted off the third shot, and Medvedev's having to chase that down every single time. Medvedev was maybe a little disappointed in the final, was as in that second set tiebreak, kind of had the mini break, had the edge, and then just kind of the unforced errors kind of kicked in when you really need them not to, right? And then obviously lost 6-4 in the breaker. But yeah, just an insane level. And going towards Wimbledon, he'll now be seeded, which is a huge deal for him, right?
Yeah, he actually would have been seeded as well if he didn't win the final because of the withdrawals of Fils Korda and Ruud. But yeah, just making the final secured that for him. When he had the Halle title in 2023, he was seeded even higher. So his position was much better because he was able to avoid like top players until the fourth round. Now he's basically guaranteed to face a top 8 seed in the third round if the seedings hold up. So it's not ideal, but it's still better than facing them round 1, I suppose. And in 2023, after he won Halle, he actually got an amazing draw at Wimbledon. So yeah, it is a big deal. Even Medvedev, connected this to like kind of this narrative to it during the trophy ceremony, right? He was already mentioning the Wimbledon draw, and he's like, "Please don't be in mine. Please be in Carlos or Yannick." And that's kind of going to be one of the main things that on Thursday or whenever the draw reveals. Friday. Okay. After the qualifying, that's nice. So that's not. Oh, by the way, to the producer, that's not during during the final round of qualifying. Then, so I might be able to join for the draw. We'll see. But anyway, I was just trying to say that like one of the main things that everybody will be looking at is where does Bublik land, and it's not really like that spot, but basically which top 8 seed is going to be next to him, because that might actually determine like so much about this event. We had, I don't know, Sinner Berrettini round 2 last year. Bublik is fully capable of giving one of the best guys that sort of a test right now. And nobody will want to see him there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of thinking as either Yannick or, I don't know, maybe less Carlos, just because the sort of form he's in right now, but any of the other 7, I mean, he'd still give Carlos a run for his money, I think, but any of the other 7, if Bublik's playing as well as he did this week, there is no reason that he can't, take out the big guys. I think
I don't think form is even relevant, to be honest. Like, that's the thing about playing Bublik. Like, he's just gonna play his own tennis, his own game. Yeah. He's gonna just mix up rhythm to a point where you don't even feel like you're playing a usual match. So, like, what does it matter that you're 20 whatever and 1 in your last 20 something matches, right? So yeah, it's just a horrible guy to play against, definitely.
But he's so good to watch. I prefer to watch him over someone like Kyrgios. I mean, they're quite similar, but like just nicer to watch in general, I think. But he's just played an incredible level this week, and I've seen guys on Twitter already pinning it like, pin this here when Bublik loses round 1 of Wimbledon, like he can't hold at this level. But I really hope he does. You say he won the title in 23, and then he lose round 4 to Rublev in 5?
Yeah, but the draw was really easy. Halle Kurtz does not work with Alexander Bublik. In 2023, he made the 4th round after winning Halle. Yeah, his draw was really easy. I don't remember now. It was Marterer in the 3rd round. I don't remember now, but yeah, it was really easy for him. So it doesn't have to be like that. And the worst part is, let's say Alexander Bublik draws somebody like, who's the toughest unseeded player at Wimbledon? Yeah. One of the toughest, let's say. Anyway, never mind. I mean, whoever it is. And he's going to lose, and everybody will be like, oh, see, I told you. But it's not quite like that. I mean,
no.
We can't be sure that he's going to maintain this intensity and this focus. He probably cannot maintain it over 7 matches, but for the sake of the tournament and for the sake of the story, I hope he at least does that until the 3rd round.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about who would probably be like a real, like, test for Bublik early on, the unseeded, obviously, but there's no one
Joao
glaringly
Fonseca,
obvious.
Zizou Bergs, I don't know.
There's no one
Gabriel
glaringly.
Diallo.
Diallo maybe, but I mean,
Bublik will be seeded. Yes.
Yes, he will. Sorry, I didn't mean to misspoke. But yeah, his opponent in the final, obviously, Danny Medvedev. His first final in a long time. He kind of broke the streak. And he played really well this week. But when you're playing Bublik, you're kind of in the final. I don't think anyone was. I had Bublik as the favourite, even though Bublik, obviously, ranking-wise, there's a big difference. I think Bublik was definitely the favourite coming into this final. But Medvedev's always had a little bit of grass pedigree. He made the semis last year, even though he hasn't won a tie. He hasn't won either Halle or Queens before, but he won. Did he win? I feel like he won a grass title a couple of years ago.
Mallorca 2021.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over some query in the final, and then he lost in 2022 in Halle and Hertogenbosch.
Yeah. But yeah, made the semi-finals last year of Wimbledon. Beat Sinner, took the first set off Carlos. Medvedev played well this week, didn't he, Damien?
Yeah, I mean, in another world where Daniel Medvedev, instead of winning one slam, actually starts beating the big three at some point, regularly, he probably has a couple of Wimbledon titles to his name, I think. But no, that never happened. And it will never happen probably from here, although he is in the mix. He hasn't won a title in ages, so it would have been excellent for him to get this one. Also, it wouldn't be one of the ones where the universe would fall apart or something like that, because Medvedev has 20 titles, all at different venues, and Halle was still open to him. He's kind of playing this huge monopoly board, and basically, if he's already won a title somewhere, then he just has to pay money and then can just go. He cannot rebuy the same place. But yeah, here he actually had a shot. So obviously, even to make a final, that was something he hadn't done this year yet. It's been tough times for him, round one losses at both slams, which just sucks completely. And if it happens again at Wimbledon, oh my god,
AO, round 2 in AO.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure, yeah, because
then
it's coming over, but yeah, you're right. Anyway, yeah, I mean, very early exits, both very disappointing. Two similar players, I guess, but still. And if it happens again at Wimbledon, that's gonna be that's just gonna be a nightmare for him.
I mean, if Norrie beats Medvedev at Wimbledon, first round, then or Tien, I mean, Medvedev
just retire. I mean, at that point, you just retire. I think if you're Medvedev, I don't see how he sees the the purpose in this anymore. Which I don't wish upon him. I just think that would just be such a disappointing outcome of this whole season, of this whole swing. But nonetheless, a fantastic tournament for him here. He was 15-1 in sets against Bublik going into this match, which to be honest with you made zero sense, because if you put Alexander Bublik, the drop shot master, against somebody who plays 3 meters behind the baseline, and Bublik also has a very good record against Zverev. He didn't actually get to play him this week.
Oh, he does, doesn't he? No, he does, doesn't he? He's
Yeah.
3-1
against Zverev. So how is he 1-15 against Medvedev? Is it just some sort of a thing, because they're both, they know each other for so long? Is it just some sort of a thing like that? I don't know. But anyway, he finally beat him, so good for him.
Moving on to Zverev, the two semi-finalists, Zverev and Khachanov. Zverev kind of played that crazy match against Medvedev, and it was actually quite entertaining to watch, and it felt as though, I think Zverev said this in his post-match interview, Medvedev, said this in his post-match interview, that as soon as one of them had the break, the other started returning really well. And, both of these guys' serves on the grass is, it's not exactly like breaks are coming every other game, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's tough as Zverev, another home tournament for him, it when by this time, obviously, he won Munich earlier this year, and but on the grass, I don't really see his big challenge towards Wimbledon. I don't know about you, Damien, but I just don't see it coming together, really.
I think he's never made a quarter even at Wimbledon, which is definitely a bit of a stain on his record, considering the other slams. Making a final, obviously, at every single one of them. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the expectations are super high for Zverev anytime we have a grass season coming around, but 3 Halle semis in a row. It's just he's not really turning this into Wimbledon runs. Last year, I suppose he was pretty close, but ran into his nemesis. With a good draw, he might go pretty deep, but yeah, he's not really among like the top 10 contenders, or if he is, then he's just barely.
I think he was.
Yeah, I mean, he's still like the 4th best player of the season by a considerable margin, but the other guys are running away.
Who's your 3rd then?
Oh, Draper.
Oh, okay. I would have thought you would have. I actually probably think, well, because it's difficult because obviously Zverev made the Australian Open final, and
sure, yeah. I just realized you're right that I'm kind of just thinking like post Australia season for whatever reason.
I actually
let's put him next to Draper. Let's say next to Draper, yeah, sure.
Because I tried to force that final out of my mind because it was so mind-numbingly boring that I just tried to forget.
Yeah, no, you're right. I absolutely was just like treating this post Australia, which I should not be. Yeah, let's just say he's tied with Draper. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, Zverev, I mean, obviously he lost to his nemesis last year, and he actually lost to him last week again. I mean, I don't know when he's ever going to turn that table around against Fritz, but if Fritz could play Zverev every single week, Fritz would maybe be world number 1 because he just wouldn't lose. Yeah, but moving to Khachanov, another solid week. To be honest, I'm gonna have to say I don't remember Khachanov's runs in Wimbledon last few years or his time on the grass. I'm not that up to date with Karen, so if you could fill me in, Damien, that'd be great.
Oh, Wimbledon, I mean, he's got, a quarter, definitely, I think, when he had that match against Korda in the 5th set, break after break. Halle, actually, grass courts he's actually still never made a final outside of hard courts. And this was his second grass. Yeah, this was his second grass semi. That was after Halle in 2017 when he lost to Federer in the semis. So yeah, 2 semis on grass, 3 on clay, I believe. He's never made the final outside of hard, but he's super solid, obviously, kind of like all year round. Has had some dips maybe, but yeah, 21. That's what I was thinking. Korda 10-8 in the 5th, in the 4th round. I don't remember who he lost to, but it was not a competitive match, I don't think. Yeah, solid run for him. Bublik obviously beat him just like everybody else. I think even going into this event, this semi-final, Karen was somewhat lucky to run into Echeverry in the quarters. But that's just kind of what we expect from him typically. Beat the guys he's supposed to. Then maybe if somebody is there with a really high ceiling or just with a higher ranking, yeah, he's probably gonna be losing. But yeah, nonetheless, obviously you cannot be disappointed with the week that Khachanov just had.
Would you think that, just thinking about what you were saying with no final outside of a hard court, if it wasn't Bublik in the semi-finals and he had either Zverev or Medvedev, does he still fall in the semi-finals?
Probably has a better shot. I'm just trying to think what his head-to-heads are there. I think against Medi it's not a good one. It's like 2-7 or whatever. I don't remember the one against Zverev, to be honest. No, maybe that's the one against Zverev. Definitely they had like a 5-setter Roland Garros years back. But no, I mean, he probably still loses, but maybe he has a better shot. It would be just, a big baseline trade, good serving, but after that, nobody can really like take advantage of the positions that the serves bring them. I think it definitely was a more exciting event because Sasha Bublik stayed in it. Let's just say that.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the same with every single event he plays, though. So, And we'll talk finally on Halle about Mr. Yannick Sinner and him obviously losing to Bublik, but losing to the eventual champion. I mean, if you're going to lose to someone, it might as well be the eventual champion, right? But just maybe first time Sinner's lost this season to someone that isn't named Carlos Alcaraz. First time Sinner's lost to someone that isn't Carlos since
Rublev in Montreal.
In Montreal, wow, that's a long time ago. We're coming up on a year. Yeah, where does this leave Sinner for Wimbledon, Damien?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, he mentioned it himself, even though he usually doesn't say stuff like that like the loss at Roland Garros was kind of haunting him in the next few days, which I can totally understand. And we don't know the full impact of that yet. But, he just played somebody who can, get him away from his usual baseline excellence.
Robotic.
So I don't think there's anything crazy wrong with losing to Bublik, but obviously narratively it was just pretty insane considering every single thing that we know, that it was 8 consecutive finals for Yannick, only losing to Carlos since ages. So in that sense, yeah, sure, it was pretty huge, but I wouldn't be too scared. I mean, Alcaraz and Sinner, they kind of just reversed their 2024 Wimbledon preparation right now in terms of the second round exit and then winning a title. Last year, actually, Yannick was also in struggle town a few times in Halle. Struff, he went to the third set tiebreak with. Marozsan took a set of him. The first set against Hurkacz until the breaker was not really feeling he's that much ahead. It was only later that he pulled away. So, on grass courts, the margins are slimmer, and guys like Bublik, they will have a better chance at beating Yannick, Carlos, Novak, whoever really. So, I don't think it's particularly worrying. It just more displays the fact that while on clay, he is able to just, he and Carlos both, he's just able to play, even if it's not their best day at the office, they just have way too much time, options, quality to really lose to anybody at the moment. On grass, maybe the margins are going to be a bit slimmer. So last year, I mentioned already this the Sinner-Berrettini match, but also Carlos had that one against Tiafoe, right? At Wimbledon, something like that can happen. So maybe the only way that this Halle loss starts playing with our thoughts ahead of Wimbledon is if Sinner lands in the Bublik 1/8 of the draw or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, if we get Bublik Sinner round 3, I really won't be complaining. I think that'd be excellent to see. But
I believe I picked Matteo Berrettini to beat Yannick Sinner last year in Wimbledon round 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because of. Okay. No, that's fair. I was at Wimbledon.
I mean, the match kind of even though he lost, it was so winnable. So
yeah, no, yeah.
But I wouldn't do it now, consider he was in much better shape back then.
Yeah, and we don't even know if Berrettini's going to compete, right? I mean, he hasn't.
Yeah, but he's also in the Bublik seed group, so could be a
Yes.
matchup in the third round this time, yeah.
Okay, moving on to Queens, and the champion again for the second time in 3 years was none other than Carlos Alcaraz. Had some tight matches this week, some very tight matches, but as Carlos has done for the last 6 months, disregarding from Monte Carlo onwards, not 6 months. Why am I saying 6 months? From Monte Carlo onwards, just having a meltdown.
Yeah, I think it's better to just start from Monte Carlo.
I was literally trying to go through his calendar, and I was like, nope.
Yeah, he had some rough patches in the 6 months, but from Monte Carlo onwards, yeah.
Yeah, from Monte Carlo, he has just looked imperious, hasn't he, Damien?
Yeah, he's been a beast. I mean, this tournament, obviously, it's kind of tricky because he always goes to Ibiza after Roland Garros, and he arrives in Ibiza form. And sometimes he's going to survive that key tough match, like against Rinderknecht in 23 and like against Munar here.
But sometimes he's not going to, like against Draper last year. Does he win the title if he beats Draper last year? No idea. But either way, it seems like there was just like that one key performance that he had to really battle through. And the serve looked excellent the entire week. I think that's kind of like the main positive. It's kind of funny how much better it looks on any grass court than like a fast hard court, considering, some things at least should be translatable. Maybe they will be in the future. Maybe they've done some good work on it. Well, definitely not in the last 10 days when Carlos was probably partying for the most part. But yeah, I do think that going forwards, he was obviously pretty tough to beat, especially in the final, and he was just serve botting, and there wasn't that much that Lehecka could do. Funny, Jake, that Lehecka lacks net skills when that's kind of like his main thing, really, or one of the main things he tries to base his game upon.
Yeah. I think everyone's had their talk about the commentary from BBC. I've seen.
Well, I haven't, because I didn't.
Literally all over my
listen to it.
Twitter. And I really like Andrew Cotter, who does it, not Andrew Castle, who does it. But yeah, it's just been all over my Twitter. I haven't got away from it. But yeah, Lehecka gave him a good run in the final. It looked as though it wasn't going to be that competitive for the first, set and a half, and then Lehecka kind of came alive in the tiebreak, and then it, as you see so often, there's such a fluctuation in momentum that Lehecka had all the momentum taking the tiebreak and then loses the third set 6-2. Like, you have such a high, and then you struggle to come down to actually focus on from that high. And Carlos was just so locked in, he was never gonna relinquish his lead. So yeah, another very imperious week for Carlitos. But yeah, forward to Wimbledon, I think he's the favorite by far. And yeah, I don't think anyone else needs to really jump in on that conversation. But the final,
there's this guy called Yannick Sinner who's like not far off,
on grass, I think it's just a different conversation. I mean, for me, I just like, I don't know. I didn't think you'd be thinking that Sinner would be this close. For me, I think there's still a bit of a gap on grass. Like, not a bit of a gap, but there's enough of a gap that I think Sinner loses in like the semi-finals or like even the quarters again this year.
I feel like that's what a lot of people said before Roland Garros as well. And
what, for Roland Garros?
Yeah, that Sinner isn't good on clay or something like that. Just stop the BS, guys. Just let's be honest.
Okay. Well, okay. Okay, maybe it's we get another Sinner Alcaraz final, and I would love to see that, but I actually have a feeling that we might get, depending on. Well, I don't know. Depends on the draw, but I feel like we might get another Alcaraz Djokovic final, but
who
knows?
Yeah,
I just feel Sinner's gonna. I don't know, depending on draw, but I just feel like we're gonna have a repeat, and then Alcaraz is gonna crush him in the final. Sorry, Pavi G. But yeah.
I was expecting you to say another D guy, and I was gonna be no. But I don't even have to disagree with you.
We'll talk about him in a couple minutes. The finalist Yuri Lehecka had an excellent week. For someone that hasn't had that much big success on the grass before, had a very good week taking out obviously Draper in the semis, and then actually pushing Alcaraz nicely in the final until that third set where he kind of faded.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a fourth round at Wimbledon. Last year, he just missed the entire grass swing, but I think he's obviously very good on the surface. Aggressive tennis with transition game being very strong. Yeah, it's just a shame for him that he couldn't really touch Alcaraz on return. Just forced him to be like so perfect himself that he couldn't really keep it up. But of course, he had already defeated Carlos this year as well. Was definitely like more of a bigger moment this final in general for Lehecka than for Alcaraz. Like I don't think it really changed much for Carlos ahead of Wimbledon, whereas for Iji, it could have been the biggest title of his life. But nonetheless, this is the part of the year when he's like not losing any points because he was injured last year. Should be a decent threat. For a while now, I mean, seeing him ranked 38-ish or wherever he was, it didn't really feel like that's relevant at all. It didn't really feel like that's a good assessment of his ability. So should be like top 20-ish sometime soon, and then I'm gonna be satisfied for now.
Just like to clarify, I was being sarcastic. I would never actually apologize to Pavi G. Yeah, no one should ever apologize to Pavi G.
Also, by the way, there's nothing sneaky good about Lehecka's grass game. It's just good. Just to clarify on the comments that was in the chat earlier.
Lehecka is always someone that I felt as though, you were talking about, he obviously was sat like 32 to 38 rankings. Someone that was probably the most dangerous guy out of the unseeded lot. That has such a big game, serves huge, forehands big. Like
showed it at Roland Garros, right? That he's the most dangerous unseeded player.
Sorry?
Showed it at Roland Garros.
What? I can't. You're laughing. I can't understand what you're saying.
No, I'm just laughing that he really showed it at Roland Garros. That he's the most dangerous unseeded player, and against Novak in Australia. But he got to these big matches.
Yeah,
just hasn't been able to perform.
Yes,
but yeah. I'm just laughing because I just remembered the Sinner Lehecka match, which is one for the ages.
No, I also think that Lehecka has the ability to completely go off the boil, like absolutely level. Like, if you, I think the only times I've watched Lehecka this year were the 2 times he played Norrie and the time he played Draper. I was in Nottingham. I didn't watch the Fernley match. And in both third sets against Norrie, the level as soon as Norrie took the second, level just dipped. I mean, he won 9 points, I think, in that Madrid match against Norrie. So yeah, he has the ability for the level to go off, but this week it didn't, and unfortunately that third set he just couldn't keep up. But we will now come to Damien's favorite time of the show, where I start talking about Jack Draper. I never thought he played his best stuff this week. He looked a little nervous for my liking, but obviously he had tonsillitis for the entire week, so you have to kind of factor that in. Looking ahead for Wimbledon, I hope semi-finals. More likely is a quarter, I think, this year. I think we've still got to think that as much as Jack's been superb this year, and as Damien was saying, third best guy on tour, joint with Zverev this year, it's still only his second full year on tour, really. Jack's ranking is 4, actually. So yeah, maybe give it a couple years before we're talking about actually titles. What are you laughing at?
I mean, no, just the amount of copium that you're already inhaling is already coming up with excuses for what happens when Jack loses at Wimbledon. Jesus Christ. No, I mean, let's be honest. He's a top 4 seed. Unless he has like Djokovic in his quarterfinal, not making the semis is a fail. Like, that's not a passing grade for the tournament. With the game profile of Jack, with the season he's had, gotta make the semis, unless it's like Djokovic in the quarters or something like that.
Okay, yeah. I'm just trying to lay the excuses now, so when we do after Draper loses in like quarterfinals, and it's not to Djokovic, it's to like. Actually, no. If it's Bublik, then that's fine.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Who else? Who are the other 5-8 seeds? Fritz,
Fritz, Musetti, Rune.
No, Rune
Medvedev.
because
No, Medvedev.
Rune because Medvedev didn't get there. Rune because Medvedev didn't get there.
Oh yeah.
Medvedev is number 9. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think unless it's Djokovic, he's got to make the semis. Like to get a passing grade for Wimbledon, he's got to make the semis.
Yeah. So okay, say he gets to the semis, and he's playing. Do you think he actually has out on the big stage? He has the chance if he was playing either Sin or Alcaraz. Do you think he gets past either of them if he plays like his best, like the best he's played?
The best he's played is a strong phrase. I mean, if we're just talking about like a regular, good performance, I think this is where my hater mode might kind of like come in. And I'm just tempted to say, no chance at all.
I love
a stretch, but I don't think he'd have a big chance against Alcaraz or Sinner. No, but just get to the semis, get to play them. I think a lot of players this year, they just kind of started thinking about tournaments in another way. Just I have to get to the round when I'm facing Alcaraz or Sinner, and that's when I can just lose, like whatever. But I have to get to that round, and I think that very much will be the mindset for Jack at Wimbledon, no matter if it's good or not.
If he's playing Yima first round, you better know I am.
Jack,
nervous.
good news for you. Actually, good news for you.
Nervous.
I don't think Elias Ymer is even in the Wimbledon qualifying draw.
I don't think he is. No, I don't think he is.
No, I think he's playing Milan. So Mikael Ymer is also playing Milan, I think. So yeah, no Ymers this time. Rafael Ymer is not playing Wimbledon qualifying either. So
no, I'll cut the BS and I'll agree with you. I think semi-final is probably passing grade. I think he has to think it's a home tournament. It's his biggest chance out of the 4, in my opinion, even though his best results come at the US, that this is his biggest chance to win a slam at some point in his career. So, he's got to start. He's 4 in the world, right? So, that's the expectation, and he's got to match it, and hopefully he does. Other semi-finalists, why am I blanking? Roberto Bautista Agut. Not many people saw this coming. I was actually there on day 1 where I popped my head into court 1 to watch him play Borges, and I thought he was going to go out first round to Borges, and now he made the semis, beat Rune along the way. A very good week for RBA. Yeah,
you can say a good week for Bautista Agut.
Oh, I'm going to end the stream now. That's terrible. That's one of the worst ones you've done, Damien. I've been away for 3 weeks, and I come back to a good week. That's terrible.
I'm actually so surprised. I've never seen that used before. I have to do it at some point.
Why is Tennis TV not used that in a caption? I
don't know. Actually,
it's gonna be terrible.
We just gained 5 subs after I said that. Fantastic. Anyway, in terms of Bautista Agut, what can you say? Wimbledon semi-finalist. Obviously, his class on grass, flat forehand still hurts. I don't know. I mean, Borges, I don't think I was expecting to beat him. Rune, most of the time, I guess. He's been fine at Queens over the years, but, it's the veteran game. It still hurts on grass. Manarino even is having a pretty good time. Let's see how Wimbledon qualities goes for him, but nonetheless, yeah, sure. I mean, he just kind of got outmatched by Carlos, but him still making a semi. Yeah, for I mean, I wanted to say for some reason, but there are a lot of reasons why the veterans kind of just wake up on grass. Part of that is just because nobody else has the experience that they have on a surface that they barely play or practice on. So that's also quite important. And if your game suits it as much as it does for Bautista Agut, Why not?
Jake, there are way more than 10 reasons why Ayala is more interesting than Zverev. So many more.
There was also a question of how Ayala and Draper are similar. I think left-handed and also should make the semis at Wimbledon.
I'm not going to get into this conversation because I could be here for like 15 hours. And I know Damien's just trying
there's
to...
nothing to talk about. I mean.
Damien's just trying to reel me in here, but I'm just going to move on.
I'm just laughing that we'll hit 100K, yeah.
I'm actually... yeah, I agree. We actually will. I'm actually going to talk about Francis Tiafoe as my man, who obviously made fourth round... Oh, was it third round last year at Wimbledon? Or was it fourth?
Fourth was against Humbert for Carlos, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. But Alcaraz was obviously pushed to 5 last year by Tiafoe, and Tiafoe's obviously game on grass obviously suits it, but, you know, it's been said that Tiafoe kind of circulates throughout the year until the months of July, August, and September, and then, or actually just August and September, and then kind of he just turns up for the American swing. But grass is usually something that suits his game, but obviously he lost first round in a somewhat... It was actually a really high quality match. I watched it live. I was there, and Evans just kind of ran him ragged, which is... I didn't think I'd ever managed to see Dan Evans hit a 128 mile an hour serve ever again. But I did.
No, we just talked about veterans doing so well on grass, you know, once more.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's not really like forced to just grind with the slice as he's been on clay. Makes sense, you know. I've watched a few Dan Evans matches this grass season, and he's actually playing very decent right now. Against Francis, honestly, I was expecting a very tight battle. I think I even wrote like a betting preview on Dan like winning games, or like the number of games. I don't know, something like that. I mean, they've had a very tight rivalry over the years. Even last year in Almaty, it was super close. The slice through the Tiafoe forehand, I mean, that just works so well on a slicker, low bouncing court. So, yeah, Dan is a lot of fun right now. And, well, at Wimbledon, depends on the draw, I suppose. Making the semis at Wimbledon, yeah. There was a time when I think this was possible, and he disappointed a few times. Joao Sousa, that was such a tragic loss at Wimbledon.
Can you tell me? Because I'm not going to lie, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I think that was maybe 2019, and like he was expected to play like Nadal in the forefront or something like that, and he just didn't get there. He like lost very meekly. I don't know. That was probably his best chance at a run.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Evans was actually, he was super great to watch, and
exactly, John. Yeah, that's the tournament. Yeah,
37 shot rally. And that was the one rally of the match I decided to film on my phone before it happened. And funnily enough, I was recording it, and I was like, oh my God, this is going on forever. This is great. But yeah, I mean, the forehand, just in that match specifically, he was just pinning Tiafoe in the backhand corner, just only hitting slices, hitting it so low, and then running around the forehand as he's been doing for the entirety of his career, right? And it worked. And, you know, he's playing well. I mean, he's playing Eastbourne tomorrow. He's got Kemp-Smanovic first round, which will be, I don't know, interesting to see what happens. But yeah, Tiafoe looking towards Wimbledon, I don't know. He's 8-16, right? Or am I? Yeah.
You can check. I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
I think he's 15th seed, maybe.
Seems like it. I don't really like treat him as like a...
Okay. Seed. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit disappointing for Francis that he hasn't have kind of taken advantage so far, but maybe Wimbledon will turn things around. There is one more thing I want to talk about actually, and I saw a tweet that said they would rather Casper skip the entirety of the grass season because he's not a factor, and head straight to hard courts in US instead of playing the grass season. Obviously, he has an injury and he's pulled out of Wimbledon, but for future reference, there are people talking about how he should just skip the entirety of the grass season because he's not a factor in Wimbledon, right? Has he? I don't think he's ever made the third round, has he?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He definitely lost to Fognini last year in the second. He definitely lost to Brody in the second, or I think it was the second. Yeah, it definitely was the second.
No, it was the second. Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
But,
second round a few times. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So
that's doubles.
Yes, that is doubles.
That's singles. Thank you. So yeah, Brody and Fognini, and one more loss that I don't remember right now.
Yeah, I actually want to talk about Mensik quickly because I feel like his game kind of can suit grass, and he's someone that sitting in that 24 to 32 bracket could cause a lot of trouble for a top seed. Or do you agree?
I guess. I mean, with time, he'll definitely be okay on the grass. Some pretty, worrying maybe is a stretch, but some pretty poor losses. The forehand probably won't love it, or maybe it will like it, kind of in like Miami when he's really just like so intent on blasting through it and avoiding all the potential issues he has. The kind of like Rune-ish technique brings him, but yeah, sure. I think he's absolutely in there just because the serve will be so tough to handle, and he can obviously grind as well. With time, definitely can be a grass court threat. I don't know if right now is what I'm, thinking for this year, especially as recently, obviously, the Grand Slam losses he's taken. Seems like something is building up there in terms of scar tissue as well. Last year, he was 2 sets to love up on Bublik, funnily enough, at Wimbledon. But that was not one of the worst losses he's had. That's actually the last 3. So Rocha, the French, Borges at the US Open, and Davidovich Fokina in Australia. These were much, much, much more difficult for him to stomach. Also, I don't think he's in 25-32, is he? But anyway.
No, sorry, he's 15th seed.
Yeah.
I completely got that wrong.
When we were talking about Ruud, I mean, some people started saying that like he pulled out injured, but like that's what we said, right? Or what did he?
Yeah, he pulled out injured. We said he pulled out injured, didn't we?
Yeah. Okay, never mind then. I was just confused. Also, one more thing is, Jake is asking for something. What am I expecting from Lorenzo this time around at Wembley? I mean, semi-final was a bit much, but then again, if he's like not running into somebody who puts a lot of pressure on him and rushes the strokes, then why not? Like all the natural surface benefits still work for Lorenzo. And, he's been so strong recently. Not much pressure even, I think, to defend these points after the clay season he's had in many ways. Yeah, I don't hate his chances, but, a semi was... It was a strong run. Let's just say that. It might be his career ceiling at Wimbledon. It wouldn't be a shock if that's the case.
One last thing before we move towards looking for the week before Wimbledon. Was Holger will Holger be a bit disappointed that he didn't set up that semi-final with Carlos at Queens? Obviously, kind of fought back so well in that second set against Bautista Agut, but then kind of let it fly away from him, didn't he? And looking towards Wimbledon, he's obviously made the quarterfinals there in 23. It's not exactly unfamiliar surface or time of year for him. So it's somewhere that he'll probably likes to excel on, but he just didn't really get it done, did he?
Yeah, I mean, maybe the bigger story is like how lost he was there, the screaming at the coach and kind of like all the misunderstandings there. Once more, the coaching situation of Holger Rune seems to be a little under fire, let's say, and we don't really know how things are going to progress from here. There's a lot of stuff in Holger's career that is kind of just too chaotic, but the talent is there. The grass court results have been good. I know he's had some rough matches at Wimbledon when he had to get these runs, 2 match points saved against Davidovich Fokina, en route to the 2023 quarters. Obviously, last year, comeback against Alice, en route to playing Djokovic. I was very disappointed both times how he handled these Alcaraz and Djokovic big matches at Wimbledon. But, it's definitely not a guy that you want to run into nonetheless. But kind of like Zverev, whom we mentioned, this just isn't Roland Garros. He's not among the top 8 contenders for me or something like that. Probably not.
Yeah. Moving towards this week, we got Mallorca and Eastbourne. Unfortunately, in Mallorca, we will have no Paul Job, last year's semi-finalist. Just had to throw that in there for Damien.
Has to qualify for Wimbledon, so maybe we will instead watch him win something else. By the way, yes, Ashley, I was talking about that coach, Lars Christensen. That's who he was screaming at. And also, Jake, think we'll ever get to a point where Rune doesn't become the player we all anticipated him to be?
Do you think he was anticipated to be the other, with Carlos and Yannick? Was that the standard that we were thinking?
Yes, 100% it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, in fact, he was anticipated to be Yannick, kind of, I would even say.
Was he? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Well, there's that really idiotic thing that was in 2009 that Holger was practicing with Roger, Novak and Rafa, and there's this whole rumor / story that he was playing practicing with these guys and he was playing really well and he was supposed to be literally the next Yannick, I guess, in a sense, that he was supposed to be the world number 1 for years and years and years because he was just so good. But
I don't know the story, but let's just say the defining rivalry of men's tennis for the next decade was supposed to be Alcaraz Rune, and then Yannick was supposed to be the third guy, more or less. Whereas, yeah, obviously that has shifted considerably, and in fact, Holger is not even the third guy.
No. This week, Mallorca and Eastbourne. I think obviously Fritz is going to try to defend his title for a 3rd time in a row at Eastbourne. And I think Tommy Paul's playing at Eastbourne and for the first time this grass season, if I'm not correct.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. If we get a Paul Fritz final, that'll be something to look forward to. A little one for Damien is obviously Fonseca versus Bergs in first round. Damien, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, Fonseca had a match point against Koboli. I absolutely do think he can be very decent on grass, but just seeing him come up against a very dangerous player, Zizou the entire week in Hertogenbosch, I think he played okay, I'm struggling not to swear right now, but he played awful, I think, for the entire week, and he still made the final. And that's just a testament to how many grass court options he has, how well he moves on the surface, how he uses the slice both offensively and defensively, how he gets to the net, how the inside out forehand is so dangerous. So I think Zizou just has so many grass court tools that he really does not have to be playing well to be good on grass. So this is going to be difficult for either player to me. And I feel like too many people are just kind of, I don't know, not remembering how strong Zizou is on the surface.
Yeah, and I agree. Obviously, he lost that final to Diallo. But yeah, I think Fonseca in time. But again, we're having the same conversation that Fonseca in time will be this great player, and I'm sure it will be. But at the moment, I think that Bergs has this one edged a little bit. I just feel like obviously he holds more tools on the surface than Fonseca does. Yeah, I didn't watch the Fonseca Caboli match, but there are a lot of time matches in Halle this week. But yeah, if Fonseca serves as well as he can, and the forehand isn't, he's not trying to go every single time to bash his way out of situations, which he does a lot of the time, then we can say this is a lot closer. But I still think that Bergs has this one wrapped up, maybe not comfortably, but I think in the end it'll probably be a Bergs victory. Moving out of Eastbourne, and also just say that Dan Evans is also playing Eastbourne in case anyone was wondering. Just like to throw that in there.
George Lofhagen in the main draw.
Yes,
as well.
yeah. George Lofhagen beats Billy Harris, so Harris won't defend any points in Eastbourne.
Well, Harris is the first in the lucky loser queue, and Alexander Bublik, I think, should not play this. So Billy Harris could actually get into this and play Comesaña.
If I'm not much mistaken, didn't Arnaldi pull out literally like a couple of hours ago?
Yes, but Seng was inserted in the draw, so Billy Harris is now first in line.
Who the hell is Pennington Jones? Wow.
The winner of Ilkley, another player in the TCU series of Brits. I mean, seriously?
John, our producer it's just not on really. Pennington Jones is another TCU guy. Who played really well and equally lost to. Don't tell me.
Did not lose. Oh, sorry. He lost to Tristan Skulkade. Yeah, I just said he won Ilkley. Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say he.
Never mind. Yeah.
Of all people, Damien.
Slip of the tongue. Slip of the tongue. No, the final was really close against Tristan Skulkade. Okay.
It was. Yeah. Wasn't the first set? He won the first set breaker like 12-10, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the reason why I'm making that mistake is because I was like out and I was watching it on my phone. And when he won the first set, I already started writing up the tweet for if he won. And it's like it's all flashing in my head basically. Yeah. But no, Tristan won in the end, obviously. But yeah, very good player. Last year beat Cameron Norrie as well.
Yeah, he did. Damien, what are you doing tomorrow?
What am I doing tomorrow? I mean, at first I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do some exercise. Then I'm going to prepare everything I can for the rest of the day, because in the latter stages of Monday, I'm going to a birthday party. I don't know what exactly is the joke here. I mean,
I was told to.
Dehydrating, maybe. Drinking.
Okay.
There will be some drinking. Dancing, probably not.
Yeah.
So Bublik is pulling out Ghosty. This is just my invention, but basically I think after winning Halle, Bublik should not be playing this. And I will be slightly surprised if he actually shows up on the court against Comesaña, but obviously he's still in the tournament, so this is just my pure speculation.
Yeah. Pennington Jones also has a wild card for main draw of Wimbledon. So yeah. Moving to Mallorca, where top seed is Ben Shelton, I believe, and second seed is, off the top of my head, I can't remember. I literally cannot. Aliassime.
That makes sense that you couldn't remember him. I also didn't know, by the way. I know the Eastbourne draw very well because I've been doing some work on that already, but Mallorca, no, I don't know. But yeah, sure.
Is this kind of like Shelton lost first round of Queens 6-6 to Rindignesh. Yeah, I mean it's not a great one for Ben, but Yeah, last year made the quarters of this event before losing to Damien Nose. I kind of think this is Ben's to lose. Just if he plays some half decent stuff, this draw isn't absolutely stacked.
Yeah, but what's the confidence he's gonna play half decent stuff on a surface that even like further, accentuates the fact that he's playing lottery matches left and right, or at least getting himself into lottery matches left and right. I don't know. If he loses to Lerner Tien or Justin Engel, like, sure. I mean,
it just feels though.
Best of 5 will be better for him, though.
Yeah,
just dropping that random
he
set
proved that at
would be
Wimbledon
good.
last year.
Yeah. I mean, last year, best of 5 kind of hurt him in a way, too, because he was just completely wiped out when getting to that Shelton
Yeah, he played
match.
3 5-setters in a row, right? And
yeah,
then,
exactly.
What was it?
Could have lost to Bellucci, but then Rain saved him.
Yeah, Shapovalov saved a field. Oh, no, he lost to Rune. Rune lost.
Lloyd Harris was the second round opponent.
Lloyd Harris, yes. Shelton making the semis at Wimbledon. Now that is a bold shout right there.
Let's revisit it when we see the draw on Friday. It's not impossible. Lloyd Harris making the semis is impossible, but at least he got into the main draw, so he doesn't have to go for the qualies again. Good for him.
For Mallorca, I think we might see a new winner or someone that isn't a seed, maybe. Kind of a tournament that you take away. Okay. You take away the kind of factor of Shelton and Auger-Aliassime. I think Auger-Aliassime's won. What are we? Maybe 3 grass matches in the last, 3 years or something like that? Was it?
Well, they all might be just Stuttgart then, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Potentially a new winner, but I will be firmly focusing on Eastbourne more than I will be Mallorca. If Oliver Crawford had made it through qualifying, I may have played more attention. Damien's shaking his head, just trying to rile him up now.
He's not even British. I mean,
No, he's American, but he is British now, technically. But
represents Great Britain.
Absolutely. Little bit of excitement for Damien, as I know he loves Medvedev versus Basafareddi. This should be an interesting one.
Fognini is not in the draw anymore, by the way, Steve, because he lost already. But yeah, Basafareddi, Medvedev. I mean, I love both guys. This is not the moment to the producer when I'm gonna say Medvedev is going to win this title or something like that. I'm not quite as sold. Obviously, there was a ridiculous chance for him at Roland Garros to do more. If he didn't have that, whatever the fitness issue was, maybe he does. Grass courts, had a rough one at Queen's Club. I think obviously the big serve is going to be a factor, but he also likes time on the ball or to move his slow ass feet. So I think it's not exactly that perfect. He played Basafareddi at US Open qualies in 2023. Kind of outpowered him. I mean, he lost a set, but it was 6-1 in the third. There was not much that Nishos could do. On grass, there's more. I mean, Basafareddi is for sure the more inventive player and like somebody who will be performing better in all these, maybe not even cat and mouse points, because I don't know how many of them they will play, but just basically what grass forces you to do. So like come up with stuff on the fly sometimes. Medvedev is not quite good at that. Like he just hits a great ball. That's really what he is as a player. But if the serve is like good enough to put pressure on Basafareddi consistently, he's probably the favorite there. Nishas also had a 3-hour match in the qualies, although that was the first round. So maybe he's going to be fine by now. I don't know. But yeah, it's a good match. I'm pretty excited for it for sure. It's not mine. I was doing a 1 hour 45 minute qualifying stream in Polish, and John showed up in the chat with
well, let's say he just said Dzień dobry, but just misspelled it 500 times. I did not read out your comment, no. I did see it, though. And also, Sean, yes, the new mixed doubles is just a US Open thing. Yeah, it's just incredibly stupid, but it is what it
Yeah,
is.
I knew Damien would have this opinion. I actually haven't.
I mean, the idea is not like I'm fine, you know. If you wanna just scrap mixed doubles or something like that, yeah, I go for it. I don't care. I don't care about mixed doubles, but you cannot call it a slam. It's just not. It just has zero correlation to every single slam title in the past, and I actually feel like the players will not be calling it that. I feel like there will be just a massive asterisk on this title, and that's where it should be. It's just not a slam. It's
I
not.
agree.
It's a fun exhibition. It's a good spot for players to catch some playing time, money as well. It's a good moment for the fans. Maybe more fans will come to watch this and also stay for some of the qualifying action.
Qualifying, yeah.
Why not? I love it. Yeah, great stuff. It's just not a slam. And let's be blunt. Let's be honest about this. This is my message to the USTA. Just admit it. You know, just say this is not a slam. We just decided to abolish mixed doubles.
I'd like someone to clip this. This is a very rare occurrence. I'm about to agree with Damien. I think it's literally just a exhibition. There is no way you can convince me that you got 9 out of the 10 of both the WTA and the ATP Tour, and you're gonna, if one of those pairs wins it, and you're gonna say, yeah, I now have a slam title. Like, if you're telling me you're gonna rock up to round 1 of your actual US Open match and Taylor Fritz is gonna go, I have a slam title. Like, well, do you? Like, really? John, get it off my screen. Sorry, producer, get it off my screen. I actually can't deal. I can't deal with this. I actually hate the British media and how they are pushing this narrative so bad. Like, it's terrible. Like, so Raducanu was at Carlos's match. Like, so what? Like, are we here talking about tennis, or are we here talking about Carlos's love life? Like, honestly, drives me insane. I see Jake talking about it all the time on Twitter, and I 100% agree. Like, it's just no need whatsoever. Raducanu gets enough press attention as it is, and they just add the narrative that she could be dating Carlos, and it just gets even worse. Like, anyway, you're that's enough.
No, just it's amusing to me how passionate you got about this. Personally, I almost missed this entirely, you know, because I was in Poznan. I was like not scrolling through Twitter the entire day for most of the week, and like today, I just saw somebody like even mention this, that people are saying that Alcaraz and Raducanu are together, and I just had to like Google it, like what the hell is even happening there. And yeah, then I realized that it's all about the US Open, and then basically, yeah, they're just looking for a story.
Oh my god, yeah, they're fishing so bad. Like, I think that I think about this, like, whenever like, obviously Raducanu just became British #1 again after winning a couple matches in Queens 2 weeks ago or whatever. Before then, I like during the big tournaments, like I would get a notification on my phone from Sky Sports whenever either Draper went out of a big tournament, and then I wouldn't even get one if the actual British #1 went out of a competition. I'd only get one if Raducanu went out of one. Like, the press attention she gets is crazy, and everyone talks about how if we give her less press attention, then she'll play better tennis. And then the British media see this and it's like their dogs, like going to like feed. They're like, oh, great, easy. This is such easy content. Let's spam this for the next week before Wimbledon. And then we'll get a picture of them together at Wimbledon and, you know, we'll make loads of money. Like, it's no need. Everyone needs to stop talking about it. please. And thanks. That's my rant for the day done.
No, it's pretty funny as well how many like different
Yeah,
graphics
I know.
we've already had running on our screen, and I know that the producer didn't make all of them, so that they might just be on the internet. Like that's
The
how much
producer
content.
he's spent the last half an hour like building these just
Yeah,
behind the
unless
scenes
he
edit.
did that, that just means that there are so many things like that circulating
No,
around the internet.
there are loads, and it's like when the graphic came out on Instagram of Carlos winning his match against Bautista Agut. Emma's face was next to him on the graphic, and I was like, what relevance does that have to him winning the match? Like, what? But, yeah, anyway. I could talk about...
Emma probably enjoyed the match. I think she probably thought it was a good match.
Okay, it's time to end the stream. Okay, unless the producer needs anything else from us, I am going to call it there because Damien is gonna make me cry in a minute. Thank you very much, Damien, for joining me for this ATP Weekly. I'm sure I will see you very soon.
Yeah, thanks. We almost got to 17K. Half the way, maybe. But apparently we have an Alex Eala stream tomorrow for a future Wimbledon semi-finalist. So we will definitely get there during that one.
Thank you very much. Take care.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Alexander Bublik, I can see it in your eyes, but what is going through your mind right now?
Happiness. The rewards of hard work and unfortunate conditions throughout end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. That's a renaissance, I would say, of my career. That's it.
It was a great moment. The last sentence from you. This title is for you. You said this title is for you, to the crowd, to the atmosphere here. I mean, it's a second title here in Halle. Why do you feel so comfortable here at Halle? What is so special for you here at the tournament?
I said this title is for my family, for my wife and my son, because I promised them if I would win because they got sick and they couldn't come. And I don't know, it just feels great, Last year I didn't do well, I was injured, and this year again, so I won 2 times in 3 years. That's a great achievement, and really, really happy.
The head-to-head against Medvedev was 6-0 before the match. What was the key for today's match, in your opinion?
Change things, I guess. Have a different approach. It's obviously the final. It's a 500. I mean, for me, it's big. For him, not that big. So if I had 2 matches like this tournament is how to beat Yannick only on the smaller events when he's not that motivated. Even though he was not, as I played him on French Open, it was a different Yannick. So if I had a chance to do that against those 2 guys that I have a horrible record, it's here in between of the big events. But still, to do that, I needed to produce my best game. So I did, and I'm really, really happy about that.
With this experience right now, with what kind of expectations are you going to Wimbledon right now?
Just win the next match, win the next point, keep it simple. I've been thinking a lot of what I've done, what I did not do well throughout my career, throughout maybe the last 7-8 years that I played on a top 50 level. And I think just to take every match as it's the first match and don't count on anything, just stay there, serve, and see how it goes.
Enjoy the victory and all the best for Wimbledon.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.